the English verse. Yes.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us.
As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives.
Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Our service continues with a psalm to help us welcome Shabbat, the words of which will appear on the screen, Lechu Neranena. And we are going to continue welcoming Shabbat on pages 20 and 21 with the words of Lecha Dodi. We'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, because those are my favorites. And when we get to the 9th verse, we're going to turn and face the entrance and welcome the Sabbath bride together, page 20.
Lecha Dodi לתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונחת, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם הנסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Verse 5. התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. We now rise and בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Now that we've greeted Shabbat, let's take a moment and greet each other. Turn to the people around you, wish them Shabbat Shalom. If you don't know them, introduce yourselves. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. I'm glad we weren't in the chapel. This would definitely not have fit. Our service continues on page 28 with Baruch Hu. We remain standing, page 28. I want to share a poem with you this evening as our Ma'ariv Aravim, our prayer for the evening. It's a poem called Starlings in Winter by Mary Oliver. She imagines, I don't know if you've ever seen video of what's called a murmuration of starlings. It's sort of this big formation that they fly in, which sort of undulates and moves as if it had one brain, as if it were its own organism. And in this poem, she sort of describes the feeling of seeing that murmuration. She writes, chunky and noisy, but with stars in their black feathers, they spring from the telephone wire, and instantly they are acrobats in the freezing wind. And now in the theater of air, they swing over buildings, dipping and rising. They float like one stippled star that opens, becomes for a moment fragmented, then closes again. And you watch and you try, but you simply can't imagine how they do it with no articulated instruction, no pause, only the silent confirmation that they are this notable thing, this wheel of many parts that can rise and spin over and over again, full of gorgeous life. Ah, world, what lessons you prepare for us, even in the leafless winter, even in the ashy city. I am thinking now of grief and of getting past it. I feel my boots trying to leave the ground. I feel my heart pumping hard. I want to think again of dangerous and noble things. I want to be light and frolicsome. I want to be improbable, beautiful, and afraid of nothing, as though I had wings. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. We continue with Ahavat Olam, page 32.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, נגי יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
You may be seated as we invite Kendall up to lead us in the Ve'ahavta on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבביך ודיברתם בם בשבתך בביתך ובלתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך. וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו תותפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We continue on page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot together, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Mi Chamocha on page 40. We continue with Hashkivenu, our prayer for God's protective presence. The words will be on the screen.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu, l'chaim, l'chaim. May you shelter us in peace until the morning comes. May you lay us down with love, and may you raise us up. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu, l'chaim, l'chaim.
Our service continues with the Amidah on page 46. We invite you to rise in body or spirit, and we invite Pearson up to lead us, page 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufiya gitehilateha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu ve'emotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rahel, ve'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, ve'Zoher Hasdeavot ve'Himahot, u'Mevivi la'livnei v'neihem, L'man Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mehaye hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Melhalkel hayim behesed, Mehaye hakol berahamim rabim, Somech nofim verofei holim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamoch haba'al givurot, Umidomela, Melech memit, Umehaye, Umatmiya Heshua, V'ne'emana le'achayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mehaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shim hakadosh, u'kedoshim beho yom yahalelu hasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated. We continue on page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. We continue with the words of Modim Anachnu Lach, our prayer for gratitude, again on the screen.
Modim anachnu lach, Modim anachnu Shatahu Adonai Eloheinu, Velohei Avotenu Ve'imotenu. Shatahu Adonai Eloheinu, Velohei Avotenu Ve'imotenu. Leolam Vaed, Leolam Vaed, Leolam Vaed, Leolam Vaed. Sor Chayenu Magen Yishenu, Atahu ledor vador. Tzor Chayenu Magen Yishenu, Atahu ledor vador. Modim anachnu lach, Modim anachnu lach, Modim anachnu lach, Modim anachnu lach. For our lives which are in your hands, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles of every day, remind us you are there. Modim anachnu lach, Modim anachnu lach, Modim anachnu lach, Modim anachnu lach.
We take a few moments now for silent prayer and gratitude.
Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav. Uya say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav. Uya say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen. Uya say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav. Uya say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen.
We turn our prayers now to those in our lives and community who are in need of healing and wholeness and strength. We think of those whose pains we see and know, and those whose illnesses we may never see and never know, those who struggle with chronic pain and chronic illness, those who struggle with addiction and those in recovery. We send our prayers also to the caregivers who offer something of themselves every day in pursuit of refuah shlema, a return to wholeness. We're thinking tonight of members of our community and extended family Gay Barone, Marty Block, Lori Banyak, Melba Berman, Andy Kaplan, Kathy Chaco, Robert Cohn, Kathy Ellinger, Al Eisenberg, Carol Friedman, Daniel Friedman, Michael Friedman, Benjamin Gibson, Bert Goldstein, Hillary Goldstein, Anita Hodgkins, Robin Hodgkins, Christina Howard, Zachary Kalin, Lita Karchmer, Melinda Lamb, Lawrence Levy, Betsy Lewis, Charles Michael Lycover, Andrew Merrick, Edward Buzz Marvins, Karen Mendonça, Mary Denise Montgomery, Bernice Myers, Louis Anderson Myers Jr., Bonnie Niter, Ron Nodler, Magdalene Pessin, Alan Reingold, Neil Reisman, Maximilian Riviera, Sidney Rogan, Jane Root, Mickey Rosenberg, Steve Schwartz, Edward Simmons, Jeffrey Teitz, Rana Train, Judith Vieder, Hannah Kahn-Wolf, Yvonne Zients, Adele Mendel bat Ita, Ariella Sharon bat Yafa Shoshana, Chai bat Moshe Velea, Chaim Tzvi ben Rivka, Chana bat Lebish v'Chana, Eliezer Chaim HaKohen ben Ramon Umimi, Gelka Nechama bat Leba Chaya, Yafa Shoshana bat Aryeh Lev Uperel Blima, and all who are suffering with afflictions of body, mind, and spirit. We offer this prayer of healing and hope on page 253.
Mi shebeirach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
A couple of announcements this Shabbat. First of all, wait, Laura, before you go, I just want to, if you haven't met Laura, our fabulous cantorial soloist, I want you to meet Laura Brosco.
Hi.
We're so grateful to you for lending your voice, along with MJ for lending your beautiful piano. Thank you. Now you can go.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I also want to say one more welcome to our sixth grade families who are here for the sixth grade overnight. We're thrilled you're here. At the conclusion of the service, your dinner is in the multi-purpose room. The weekend has arrived for Bubby's Kitchen, our next Music at Emmanuel event, taking place tomorrow, Saturday, February 21st at 7:30 p.m. in the Kaplan Theater at the Evelyn Rubenstein JCC. It's a really powerful one-woman show by a cantor friend of Cantor Simmons and my friend, actually. And it's going to be really wonderful. There's still some tickets available, so join us if you can. Then on Tuesday, February 24th at 5:30 p.m., Sisterhood is excited to present the future of NPR and behind the scenes of a celebrity interviewer with Ernie Manous, the man Houston Chronicle crowned the ultimate interviewer. So we hope that you will join us for that. Details are on our website. And then on Thursday of this coming week, February 26th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. in advance of the April 4th special election for City Council District C. We are proud to have partnered with the University Place Association to host a candidate forum. All 7 candidates for this special election will be here answering. It's a panel, so they'll all answer the same set of questions. Should be really interesting. Many of you live in District C, I know this, so we hope that you will join us for that really fascinating and important event. And then On Sunday, March 1st, so a week from Sunday at 10 a.m., we hope you will join us for our enchanted Purim celebration, our Disney-themed Purim spiel. It's going to be a lot of fun. It will be performed by our Emmanuel staff along with our volunteer choir and our youth choir. It's going to be a blast, followed by our world-famous carnival. So we really do hope that you will plan to join us for Purim on a week from Sunday. How do you build a sacred community? This is the question that God and Moses considered as the people stood at Mount Sinai. How do we bring these disparate tribes together to help them bridge their differences and become one people, one nation? God answers, we build sacred community one person at a time. In this week's Parshat Truma, we read, Vaikuli trumam eit kol ish asher yidavenu libo. Tell the children of Israel to bring me gifts from every person whose heart is so moved. And then a few verses later, Va'asuli mikdash v'shachanti bitocham. Build for me a sanctuary and I will dwell among them. God commands the building of a sacred gathering place, the Mishkan. Rabbi Denise Egger explains the building of the Mishkan will force the Israelites to work together in order to fulfill a common goal and prepare for a common future. And how is it to be built? With the trumot, each person's gifts. But God created the universe from nothing. What use does God have for our gifts? Rabbi Pinchas Pele writes, besides the immediate purpose of the campaign to collect the materials for the building of the sanctuary, it also serves an educational purpose to convert the people from passive participants in their relationship with the eternal as constant recipients of God's gifts into active partners. He continues, the indwelling of God among the people cannot take place as long as the people are passive and do not help to bring the sacred into the world. And let them make me a sanctuary that I might dwell among them. My dwelling among them is on the condition that they make the sanctuary. It is precisely the action of bringing the gifts that is what invites holiness into the project. When the Israelites offer something of themselves in the pursuit of sacred community, the community becomes sacred and God is invited to dwell within. Given the importance of these gifts, one might imagine that everyone would be required to participate in such a momentous communal endeavor. But surprisingly, God says, Kol ish yidavenu libo. Every person whose heart is so moved. If the gifts are vital to the project, then why are they voluntary? But it is the fact that they are voluntary that changes the Israelites. These are not compulsory like taxes or tzedakah. God knows that holiness comes when people freely offer of themselves in the pursuit of a common goal. As Rabbi Mackenzie Zev Reynolds writes, Vidabenu libo can also be translated as whose heart incites them. A person compelled by the needs of the community responds to those needs with generosity. We look around, we see what needs to be done, we see what gifts are missing that only we can offer. And this incites our hearts. It calls us to act, to serve, to give. This is what changes us, and by extension, the whole Israelite camp. How do you become a community, asks God? Through a shared building project in which we are bound to each other, in which our communal responsibility compels our hearts. Through building, we become not just a nation, but a sacred community, the kind of place where God would want to dwell. 250 years ago, the founders of this country were asking similar questions about how to build a nation, how to bring together 13 diverse colonies and create a country. They knew, as God knew, that a shared project was the answer, something to which everyone could lend a hand. And the shared project they envisioned was not a Mishkan, but a democracy. And like the Mishkan, a democracy thrives when its citizens bring trumot, their gifts of their heart, their time, their talent, and skills. One of the primary ways we offer trumot is by voting. And like the trumot of old, this gift is a gift and a right, not a commandment or an obligation. There are other countries with compulsory voting, places like Greece and Mexico and Egypt. In Australia, if you do not vote, there is a monetary fine. But in America, we can choose whether to vote or not. And I want to talk about that choice tonight, because I know that not every person's heart is moved by every election or candidate. But our founding fathers believed in the same principle as Parshat Shumah, that the sacredness of the gift comes from the vidabenu libo, the willingness of the heart. And in Texas, we don't make it easy. We do not have universal voter registration or online registration. We have limited mail-in voting available only to those who are 65 and older, people with disabilities, and people residing out of town for the entirety of the election period. And we make you resubmit an application to vote by mail every year, which means, by the way, those of you who are 65 and older, if you haven't already applied, it is too late for the midterm election, but you have to go to that one in person, and then you can apply for the next elections that are coming up. In Texas, we make it hard to vote. But at least we get a lot of practice. Because in Texas, we vote a lot. Both in terms of the length of our ballots. Texas has the longest ballots of any democracy in the world. And it's not a joke, that's a serious fact. And also in terms of the frequency of our elections. Because of our primary system and runoffs, you can spend much of the spring catching up with your local election worker. I've checked, and some Harris County voters are going to be asked to vote in as many as 7 elections between January and June. This is the special election for the Texas 18th House seat that already happened, the primary, the District C special election, the May 2nd uniform election, plus 3 possible runoffs. And at the end of all that, we'll only be a few punches away on our card from a free foot-long sub. If you are committed to bringing your gifts, brace yourself, it's going to be an exhausting spring. And aside from thinking, didn't I just vote? You might also start to think to yourself, do all these elections really matter? Maybe it doesn't matter if I sit one out. Let the people who are really tuned in make the decisions. And who could blame you? It's almost as if the system is designed to encourage you to think like that. But here's something I learned from our member and teacher, the late Professor Bob Stein, who taught me so much of what I know about elections. He said you can understand a lot about people's faith in elections and, by extension, the health of a democracy from how many people vote. So I want to do an experiment tonight. In a minute, I'm going to do something that I do frequently in services but very rarely in sermons, which is I'll ask you, not yet, to rise if you are able. But I want you to see the health of democracy in Texas and the places where our gifts might be most needed. And I want to start with some good news. I want to share with you something that I've actually not had a chance to share publicly yet. And I want to look back at the election of November 2024, an interesting place to start if you're looking for good news, but here it is. As a congregation, we like to compare ourselves to the county average in our Emanu Votes work, our campaign to try and become a 100% voting congregation. So I want to start with the county average. So, if you are able, everyone from this aisle over, if you'll please rise. Based on my assumptions, that's about 58.8% of the people in this room. That's how many people in Harris County voted in the November election. Now, I'm also curious about sort of what Jews do generally. So from about halfway up, if you will all please rise. All the folks in the back, all the 6th graders, all the way to like here, if you don't mind. All right. 71% of Jews voted in the November 2024 election. Now to our numbers. If you will all please rise. Not you. No, you say. Wasn't that good? All right. 82% of Emmanuel congregants voted in the 2024 election. But it's not all presidential elections. I want to talk for a second about midterms And here I want to thank the organizer and lobbyist Joshua Houston, from whom I learned this. So everyone, if you're able, please stand up. Okay? You are the 22 million Texans who could be voting. That's 18 plus citizens not currently serving a felony sentence. That's everyone. Now, 19% of you, or about who is already sitting, you may sit back down. All the ones who didn't vote at Emmanuel. Yeah, okay. Because about 19% of Texans are not registered to vote. So they sit every election out. You can be seated. Like I said, the last presidential election was 58.8. So everyone in this whole section, you may be seated. But that was presidential, and that's high. 2020 was the first time that Texas voted over 50% in any election. And in a midterm, in a gubernatorial midterm, is about 42%. 1, 2, 3 rows, you may be seated. If it's a non-gubernatorial midterm, it's 37%. 1 row, 2 rows, you may be seated. And that's until the last 2 midterms. Before that, the average was closer to 25%. 1, 2, 3, you may be seated. Now, we got to talk for a minute about gerrymandering. 95% of the seats in the Texas House are decided in the primaries because of gerrymandering. There are, out of the 150 members of the Texas House, about 4 seats that are reliable swing seats. There may be up to 11 in strange elections, but all the other ones are decided essentially in the primary. So we got to talk about primaries. That's the most important race. In the primaries, about 14% of people vote. The rest of this section may be seated. Now we're just dealing with y'all. Now it's a partisan primary, so 14% divided into 2 parties, it's about 5% voting in the Democratic primary, 9% voting Republican, in the Republican primary. That's not a reflection of the division in Texas, that's just who showed up. Now let's talk about the runoffs. All y'all may be seated. About 6% for both parties, which means all y'all may be seated. If you'll stay standing for just a moment. These 3 people, 3% are deciding 95% of the seats in the Texas House. These folks represent about 700,000 Texans. Remember, we started with 22 million. That's who's deciding these elections. In 2012, Senator Cruz won a runoff with 3.5% of Texans of the voting age population affirming him at the ballot box. In 2014, Governor Patrick won with 2.5% affirming him. 3% of a state, or 700,000 Texans, are driving the policy conversations for the entire state. You may be seated. Thank you. I don't know what we think we're building with only 3% of our gifts, but it ain't a sacred Mishkan. Now, I know it's confusing and hard to keep track of, and I know there is reporting that maybe this election is going to be a little bit different, but that's why that's important. And also, if we can go from 3% to 6 or 10 or 15%, that'll be amazing. But we're unlikely to get to 82% like we did in the November election. And that's part of what our EE Votes committee is trying to help you with. I want to thank the members of our committee who are here tonight. After services, they're going to be standing at the door handing out some postcards with the primary dates because we are in the middle of a primary election right now. There is 1 more week of early voting, and then election day is on March 3rd. You can follow the link on the QR code on the postcards to check out your registration status, see a sample ballot, and find polling places. And I'm not telling you who to vote for because our EE Votes work is proudly and passionately nonpartisan. In the Torah, God is more concerned with each person bringing gifts than with what each person brings. What matters is that we show up. We know it's hard to manage, and the EE Votes committee is working on creative ways to keep you informed. Stay tuned because we're hoping to launch a new text message number with occasional reminders about elections. We started EE Votes in 2020 because people kept telling me that they felt powerless in the face of the injustice and division that they were seeing. Voting is one way we reclaim our power, and we see from this experiment that we just did that there is a lot of power to be reclaimed. I quoted Rabbi Pele earlier saying that God asked for gifts not because God really needed them, but because God knew that bringing gifts would change us. It would make us into a community, a people, a nation. Ve'asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham. Build for me a sanctuary, and I will dwell among them. In America, our democracy is our sanctuary, and it is constantly being built and rebuilt. If we are to make it stronger and better, make it the highest reflection of our ideals and values, then it requires all our gifts. And if everyone whose heart is so moved brings their gifts, I believe that what we will create will be something truly holy. Shabbat Shalom. Our service continues on page 282 in the middle of the page with Aleinu L'Shabeach. Please rise in body or spirit.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 287. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
100% of you may be seated. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones and those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, life and death. We take a few moments for silent memory. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. Our hearts go out in sympathy to the families of Harris Miller, Seymour Lamel, and Clara Dolly Goldberg, who were laid to rest in recent days. We also think of those who died at this season in years past and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. Leslie Axelrod, Emmanuel Bender, Charles Benjamin, Abe Berkowitz, Minnie Wise Birnbaum, Josh Black, Irene Lieberman Bornett, Lynn Borovic, Meyer Brockstein, Vicky Briers, Philip Burkham, Rose Kaplowitz, Josephine Coben, Richard Coffin, Joyce Cohen, Terry Coleman, Ruth Datz, Leo Dubinsky, Donald Epstein, Aaron Ehrenwert, Jack Ehrlich, Daniel Feinstein, L. Bennett Fenberg, Max Finkelstein, Ruben Finkelstein, Richard F. Fox, Marion Franklin, Ronald Freed, Ben Friedberger, Annie R. Frieden, Frida Friedemann, Ray Gofseyev, Reba Schultz Goldberg, Meyer Godofsky, Florence Grayboy, Andrea Grief, Adam Grossman, Abe Halfant, Jean Hayden, Rosa Hayden, Fanny Helfman, Max Herman Herstein, Jay Ingatoff, Joyce Elaine Jacobs, Esther B. Jessel, Rabbi Louis Josephson, Sadie Kaiser, Marjorie Kamen, Chester Kaplan, Marlene Kaplan, Dorothy Cradleman Karp, Charles Keeler, Dorothy L. Cosberg, Francis Ruben Kreisman, Tito Krohn, Mary Annette Krut, Hannah Lensky, Harriet Levitt, Edith Cobo-Levy, Rose Lewis, Alton Lipkin, Elton Lipnick, Fanny Lipnick, Melvin Lorch, Martha Klein Lotman, Eileen Marla Mazel, Alex Mahalik, Abe Miller, Anna Miller, Carol S. Miller, Pauline Barabas Miller, Herbert George Myers, George Neff, Stanley Novak, Dorothy Penner, Nathan Petrovsky, Geraldine S. Phillips, Shirley Yetta Portman, Benjamin Radner, Rena Davis Rauch, Herschel Rich, Jeanette Rosen, Morris Rosen, Jennifer Rolnick Rosenthal, Max David Rothenberg, Alfred L. Al Rubin, Leah Rubenstein, Lester Riley Ruffin, Ansel Saknowitz, Margaret Phillip Sack, Richard Melvin Sachs, Robert Shear, Ruth Schneider, Harry Schnitzer, Annette Weiss Silber, Fan M. Sembler, Joseph Schmolker, Betsy Schulak, Esther Silverblatt, Ruth Levy-Simon, Fanny Snitzer, Frida Bell Stevenson, Benjamin Sukolutsky, Jeanette Tobias, Irene Weinbaum, Robert Paul Weinberg, Arthur B. Westerman, Harry White, Marshall Weiss, Harris Whittles, Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. We turn to page 294 and rise together as one community for the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'kadash shmei rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'amich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam omei amaya, Yitbarach v'shtabach v'tpa'ar v'tchomam v'tnaseh, v'tadar v'taleh v'talal shmei dikudsha brichu, le'elam im kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, damiran be'ama v'imru amen, yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
You may be seated as we move from Kaddish to Kiddush. We are pleased to invite Pearson and Kendall back up along with their sisters, Lexi and Madison Rose, and Caroline and Emerson, for Kiddush and Motzi. We are on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, be'ahava u'ratzon v'hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom tehillah, v'nikra'ei kodesh, zecher litziat mitzrayim, kivanu b'charta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava v'ratzon, hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh Shabbat.
You can drink. Calm down, as creatures. And Hamotzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
All right, share some with your sisters. All right. Our closing song this evening can be found on page 323, Shalom Aleichem. Page 323.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boechem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitkhem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
If you'll please rise for our closing benediction. Bekor Chaim Uvracha, source of life and blessings, source of so many gifts that we receive every day, and receiver of our gifts of sacred time and talent, our gifts that build sacred community, our gifts that strengthen one another. Oh God, remind us that we are not powerless, we are quite powerful. Help us to find ways to use that power in the service of building communities that are sacred and loving and whole. We thank you for the many blessings in our lives as we say together, Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.